people in the stream, and boom, we're gone. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. My sincere apologies. I really have no idea what the spiel is going on here. Yep. Well, this is... Am I actually broadcasting or not? It's a good question. Nobody's there, it looks like. I'm all alone. Yep, no, I am streaming, but I don't see anybody there right now, so very frustrating. It says it's been live for about 15 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who got rudely cut off by my stream breaking off, my apologies. Sorry about that. For those hopefully coming back into the stream, we'll see what happens here. Very odd. Yep, of course, the moment I mention NDZ, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, it all goes in the crapper, and the cock starts happening. Yep, absolutely. All right, so it says I have 9 viewers, so somebody's there. Okay, sorry guys. Hey, Blues Pixie, I didn't see you earlier, Just a Ghost. Ladies and gentlemen, I've really got to fix this nonsense. I don't understand what the problem is. It's really annoying, super annoying. And my apologies. Northern Stealth, good to see you. D there, Jock, good. Folks are coming back in. Again, my apologies. I don't understand what the problem is here. I've done everything. Sarah, welcome back. Sarah Toffel, that's a cool name. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I don't think it's a small coincidence that the moment I mentioned Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, my connection was lost. It all went. Oh, my goodness. Crystal Hoyle, you can hear me? Great, fantastic. All right, so welcome back. Yeah, the red ants, Ice, the red ants. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. Click. Connection is lost. No connection. Now, again, it's not my service provider. It is this device, and I've done all sorts of things, and I don't know what's going on here. I'll recheck my settings. I don't want to get cut off when Ronaldo's on later. I may have to just set my PC up and go with that, because this is really frustrating. Folks are coming back in. Look at that. Drian says, Ochihili Jan. Kitsihili Sentle. Kitsihili. Kenako. I remember that from the 2010 FIFA Rugby World Cup. That was the... Whoa, look at the curl. My hair is getting all crazy right here. What's going on? Look like a hippie there. Kenako, which is Swana for It's Time. All right, Kenako, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back for those able to find your way back to my bizarre Red Ants-inspired break-in broadcast. My sincere apologies for that. Good to see folks back. There's Vihan. Sean's back. Glenn, CCP. Yeah, no, Trump's merchandise does rock, Ice. Yeah, here it is once again. So I guess maybe it's not the Red Ants. Maybe it's the leftists in America who are cutting my Xfinity 1 terabyte or whatever it is size connect. I'm paying a lot of money for the stupid internet and cable. But anyway, so I was talking about cigarettes, and when we got rudely disconnected. If we get disconnected again, ladies and gentlemen, just a heads up now, what will happen is that'll be it for now, and we'll come back later this evening at 9 p.m. if we get disconnected again on this stream. I'm just telling you that now so that you don't have to wonder if you should come back and search endlessly for the link that's actually alive. Anyway, if that happens, we get disconnected again. That'll be it for this stream, and we'll come back at 9 p.m. South Africa time, 3 p.m. on the East Coast of the U.S., and that would be 8 in London and Abuja for Renaldo Gouws, the interview here on my channel later. So I think now is the time for me to move my PC and just stop this nonsense with this laptop, because I'm very embarrassed and apologize profusely for technological failures. It is beyond frustrating to have a stream and then have it just broken up like that. But hey, here's the upside, ladies and gentlemen. Now that you're tuned into this stream a second time, those of you who made it back, you can go push the like button on this one as well. I'll get an extra like if you've already pushed a like on the previous one. Anyway, you got to make the best of the situation, and a sense of humor never hurts. And we'll get back to the cigarette discussion here in just a minute. Ludwig, welcome back. Terrence, glad you're back. Glad you guys are back. My apologies. The Red Ants or the leftists in Pennsylvania had cut my connection. Or maybe it's just the Chinese that made my HP laptop somewhere in China that just, put something in here that anytime I said something that offended their leftist sensibilities would cause my video card and my network card to not work together and boom, cause it to crash. I don't know. Anyway. Right, so back to the cigarette story, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. All right, so back to that. Should I hesitate and say Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma? Wait. Did we get disconnected? Okay, we're still there. We have not been disconnected after mentioning NDZ. But NDZ, with all of her ban on cigarette smoking, this is despite the fact that leading tobacco harm reduction scholars are studying the possible preventative effects of nicotine on the coronavirus. Yes, those of you paying attention to events in France, we've heard about this multiple times. There may be a correlation between nicotine inhibiting the receptors or the RNA from COVID-19 from locking onto the receptors on your cells and making you sick. Yet they, without any scientific basis, the South African government has banned the sale of tobacco products in what is a clear overreach. Yep. And they're helping tobacco smugglers. We talked about that already. Now, this comes from Tony Leon. It's interesting. The former Democratic Alliance opposition leader and ambassador to Argentina, and now current executive chairman of Resolve, a consultancy group. Tony Leon said there's no study that if you ban legal cigarettes, habitual smokers are just going to stop smoking. And he's right. There are 11 million smokers in this country. The ban has not turned them into 11 million non-smokers. Yep, absolutely true. And finally, from this article, South Africans did not simply quit smoking because they had been ordered to. They actually appeared to do the exact opposite, continuing to smoke while defying their government's order. They kept obtaining cigarettes and potentially putting themselves and others in danger by spreading the virus and by buying unlicensed, unregulated, and potentially dangerous cigarettes, not to mention the loss of revenue to the state on sin tax and the economic boon for illicit traders. Ladies and gentlemen, disturbing beyond belief. Well, here we go. Love the snowflake shirt. Oh, Ice. Oh, are you talking about are you dissing the Stormers? Oh my goodness. All right, Ice, you're banned from this channel. Yes. Anyway, so all right. Let's see. Who else is here? Did I miss? Sean's there. We already saw Sean Glenn. Welcome. Lone Wolf says, did you eat Lugania when you were in Botswana? Beef stew with sap and Lugania sauce was my favorite. No, I never had that. I had a lot of pop and seswa when I lived in Botswana. Seswa is fine, but it's got to be done the right way. I hate when people grind the bones up instead of removing the bones and smashing it. Seswa is a heavily abused, tenderized meat dish that is quite tasty if it's seasoned properly and if it doesn't have bones in it. A Greek cardiologist did an interview with Africa News regarding this, and he supported smokers to keep smoking, although he does suggest quitting is good for your health. Yep, we're back, Punisher. Thanks. Glad to have you there. Just you have to have the clue. Yep, absolutely. All right, so now let me bring the next thing in here. Now this one, so welcome to folks tuning in. Those who got cut off in the midst of the loss of the stream, welcome back. I appreciate your loyalty for coming back to watch the stream. I really do appreciate that. And also for those tuning in for the first time, expecting to find Renaldo Gouws here, you're not going to find him because Renaldo is currently busy, occupied with his day job. And so we have rescheduled that for 9 p.m. South Africa time, 3 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S., or 8 o'clock in London and Abuja for those tuning in from Europe and from West Africa. The ban was about health. Oh, if the ban was about health, she would have banned the action of smoking. Yeah, exactly, not the sale. Yeah, they know the illegal trade is huge, and if you want to ban smoking, ban smoking. Yep, exactly right. Yep. Oh, okay, you're a huge Stormers fan. I was referring to the snowflake reference shirt on Trump's merch. Oh, okay, gotcha. Anyway, sorry about that, Ice. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, again, folks, am I a little proud of this? Yeah, absolutely. Look at that. Made in the USA, right there. Probably can't read that very well. Look at that. Woohoo. Come on, it doesn't want to cooperate. There we go. Made in the USA. Actually make clothing here in the U.S. Not a lot of it these days, but we do make it. For those tuning in for the first time, welcome. This is Indaba Africa. I'm Chris Wyatt, coming to you from central Pennsylvania, where this is Indaba Africa, the home of civil discourse and cogent conversation. And with that, let's continue on with the latest story I wanted to bring to you guys. Variable Vision, hey, welcome back. Trump ain't a mistake, Snowflake. Oh, I haven't seen that one, Ice. That's awesome. Footkick is fried. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, Ludwig. So Allison, the Department of Education did not deliver any sanitation to mass today, and school starts Monday. I'm fortunate to teach at a school where we could afford to buy our own. Hope you're well, Chris. Yes, I am, Allison. Actually, I'm in discussion with a business in South Africa that actually is in the process of making sanitation and cleaning plans available for schools. Let me reach out to my colleague about that and find out what's going on. I'm not at all. Hey, Brett, you're here. Hey, man, how you doing? Look at that. Got Americans in the stream today, too. Good to see you, Brett. Doc Breaker, evening. Good to see you. Shall we pull SD Bob Snake Plissken and escape? Well, that's exactly what the reference was to Escape from LA. And that's because at the early part of the stream, I didn't get to it yet. I was going to talk about these Brits who escaped from South Africa after being trapped under COVID-19 lockdown. They finally got out, 300 of them. So I thought the escape from South Africa would, in fact, be a good reference to Snake Plissken. What a movie, man. Remember that in my youth. Snake Plissken, Escape from New York. The Escape from L.A., not the same. Escape from New York was awesome. Snake Plissken, that is absolutely right. The former Disney star, Kurt Russell. Absolutely right. No, Allison, I'm well. I'm doing better than folks in South Africa, it appears. I don't have to worry about what times I can exercise and what I can do, what I can't do. I know what I can't do, and I disagree with it, but I have no control over it. Brett says, what's your take on the situation in Minneapolis? I'll get to that in just a moment. Brett, thank you for that question. Probably China who cut you for not showing Made in China. I love it, Lone Wolf. That's probably true. Bismarck Bear, welcome. City so as not to be racist, stopping black rioters. I'll get that. Okay, so let me read this one to you. So South Africa says it has a backlog of nearly 100,000 unprocessed tests for the coronavirus. So get this straight, ladies and gentlemen. The South African health officials have tested 96,480 South Africans after screening others. So you've reduced the pool of people who might be sick or have an upper respiratory infection or illness. You test people. So you go from that group, and that's probably 100. You go down to 10, and from that group of 10, they have 96,480 tests that are sitting in labs waiting to be processed by South African health officials. And why is this? This is what the ministry said. This challenge is caused by the limited availability of test kits globally. Now, I appreciate that English might not be the first language for whoever gave this statement, but the journalist who took this statement, this appeared in the Washington Post today. Obviously, they didn't do it. It was someone in South Africa that interviewed this person. But let me read that to you again. 96,480 test backlog. In other words, they're not processing. They can't do it, which means they probably don't have the correct reagent. They don't have the means to do it. Or they just don't have the resources and human capital to actually process 96,480. How are you having a lockdown when you can't even process tests, South Africa? Excuse me? Cyril, could you tell us all about that? I'm sorry, it wasn't in your prepared script. You can only talk when you have a prepared script in front of you. Yes, I know that. Anyway, 96,480 tests are backlogged, have not been processed. People tested for COVID-19. Likely, at least 10% of those people probably have COVID-19. That's probably 1% of the 100% I started with. Okay, the ministry said this challenge is caused by the limited availability of test kits globally. Ladies and gentlemen, I do speak modern standard written English, and the way I interpret that, and I infer from that, is that they're unable to process tests because they can't get the tests so they can test people. Huh? Yeah, exactly. No, what they should have said is that the reason that we have a backlog is either we have insufficient reagent, we don't have sufficient means or laboratories to run through the number of tests that have come and showed up on our doorstep. They rocked up from the post with this many tests, 10,000 tests. We can only do 100 a day because we don't have enough reagent or we don't have enough personnel. That's what they should have said. But to say that this challenge is caused by the limited availability of test kits globally, that's nonsense. The U.S. has tested over 15 million people. There are test kits out there. And you can, if you're testing people, obviously they are. They got 96,480 backlog tests. That's not the problem. Test kits is not the problem. The problem is your capacity to process them and your ability with English language, apparently, the folks who gave this from the ministry. Yikes. South Africa has conducted more tests for the virus than any other country in Africa, more than 655,000. That's still barely over 1% of the population, ladies and gentlemen. It has more confirmed cases than any other country in the continent with 27,403. Yes. There you go. So that's the latest thing on South African COVID-19. They can't even process the tests they've done. Yet they can tell us that they have to ban cigarettes. You can only buy alcohol from June 1st. Only buy alcohol from 9 to 5 p.m. and you must continue to socially distance. You can go to work, but we don't want you to go to work. You can fly, but only if it's on business purposes. Anyway. All right, so let's see what else we got here. I'll come back to the next one in which I talk about the gentleman who escaped from South Africa, which was the whole purpose of this. All right, so let me get back and see what I missed here. Oh, Brett did have a question. Brett, let me get back to that. Doc Bricker, it is good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody for tuning back in, and my apologies for those who got cut off by the broken stream. I chalk it up to the Chinese Communist Party because my cap, which I have received in the mail yesterday. Keep America Great. There you go. That's right. 45 on this side. Good old stars and stripes on this side. Something I spent 36 years in uniform defending. And our Constitution. And look at that. Trump in 2020, ladies and gentlemen. A lovely orange on the Duck Dynasty camouflage pattern here. Yeah. I attribute my loss of connection to the Chinese Communist Party because my cap, as someone mentioned, is made in the USA. That's what, the fifth time I've shown it to people? Yes, I guess I'm kind of proud that it's made in the USA. Not made in China. Or it was the Red Ants who are angry about the fact that I'm dissing the African National Congress. Or perhaps it's just leftists in my own state in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania who snapped my Xfinity ISP service. Whatever the case is. Back to Brett's question. Okay, so Brett, those just tuning in who were expecting to find Renaldo Gouws, he's not here. He'll be coming on later this evening. Check back. We'll be doing that. He's got a day job and was called away to it. So he's in a conference call right now. We will do that stream a little bit later this evening at 9 p.m. South Africa time, 3 p.m. U.S. time. So Brett's question was, what are my thoughts on the situation in Minneapolis? Well, Brett, once again, just like in South Africa, we see people take an event and turn it into an excuse to loot, to destroy, and to cause social chaos. There's no justification whatsoever for what's happening in Minneapolis. There was no justification for what happened in the Freddie Gray case in Baltimore and the idiotic... Well, I'll tell you what. The officials in the city of Baltimore apparently attended the same courses in governance that the ANC has attended with their reaction, pulling back the forces, letting the rioters take over and do what they wanted in Baltimore during the Freddie Gray situation. No, the Minneapolis thing is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know the facts. I didn't even know about it until after the riots started. I wasn't really paying attention to the news in Minneapolis. But we have a governor in Minnesota telling people they have to social distance, and then we have hundreds and thousands. By the way, for those who want to accuse racism or say, well, you're just saying this because... No. Watch the video footage in Minneapolis, ladies and gentlemen. Who are the people out there? 7 out of 10 people are white Americans on the streets of Minneapolis, tossing things at the police, breaking windows, throwing rocks at people, causing chaos, and just being out on the street when they're supposed to be social distancing in the midst of the Wuhan coronavirus COVID-19 lockdowns. Now, what's going on there? They're white people. They're the ones out protesting. Now, listen, the right to assemble, the freedom to assemble, freedom of assembly is a right that's guaranteed in our Constitution. And while I'm dismayed, disheartened, angry, and unsatisfied with the reaction of multiple governors and mayors in this country, I do not encourage people to do things like what has happened in Minneapolis. If you're angry about what happened to that gentleman, that's perfectly acceptable. And there are ways to express your anger. Go on YouTube. Sign a petition. Ask for a demonstration out in front of an official location where people maintain distance. You bring your signs out and you get interviewed by the press to show your anger. You don't go on the streets and destroy things. That's not civilization. That's chaos. And that is not acceptable. Not acceptable. And I disagree with what's going on. Now, in the case of Los Angeles, Black Lives Matter, a radical group of lunatics. Yeah, that's what I said, lunatics. That's right. Yeah, people who are purely racist in their orientation. They don't care about black lives. If they cared about black lives, they would be vocal about the 300,000 black infants that are killed through abortion each and every year in this country. But they say nothing about that. They're silent about abortions of black children. Yeah, far more black children are aborted by their mothers in this country, either white or black mothers, from white mothers from mixed race kids or black mothers, 300,000 every year. The reason that the black population of this country is stagnant or barely growing is because of abortion. It has put a curb and brake on the natural rate of reproduction in black American society. Black Americans make up 13.5% of the population in this country. Although you wouldn't know it from the media, you would think that it was 60 or 50% of the country was black, but only 13.5% of the country is categorized as black, whatever that means. Anyway, so the Minneapolis nonsense is disgusting. The officials should stop being so candy ass and get their act in gear and go after these people who are misbehaving. And since they're unwilling to maintain social distancing, then I guess they're perfectly happy being locked up in a holding cell while they wait processing for their behavior. Yep, that's right. Now, people just out walking about shouldn't be in any trouble. But the gentleman, what happened to him? I just saw some footage. I don't know much about it. I did see the knee in the back of the neck. I have no idea what that's all about because the camera angle was just the back of the vehicle. That should never happen. That's dangerous. You could fracture a neck. I've been trained in the National Guard in restraint procedures for dealing with riots like this and actually rehearsed this and trained for it. That's not something we were ever taught in the military. So I don't understand why a law enforcement officer does it. But I also saw some nonsense now that apparently the cop that did this, put his knee on the guy's neck for like several minutes, apparently worked in that same bar with this person. So maybe there's something else going on here that we don't know about. And so it's being painted as a story of police brutality or overreach, and maybe it is, but it seems like it might also be a result of personal animus and someone who actually happens to be a police officer taking advantage. I don't know. We don't know the facts, but you don't do this. You don't get in the streets and do this nonsense. This is what we did during Obama's years, as Obama stoked racial hatred in this country and divided people based on race. No, that's not what this country's about. That may be about what some people are about and were about for many decades in the history of our country, but that is not the U.S. in the 21st century. It needs to stop. And the law enforcement officials who will arrest people for opening a beauty salon in Dallas, Texas, and put that person in jail, better damn well in Minneapolis start arresting these people who are burning AutoZone, retail stores, trashing people's private means of conveyance, their cars, destroying lives, and endangering the public by spreading potentially a virus around when they're supposed to be socially distancing. All because they're angry, ostensibly because someone was murdered in police custody. That did happen, but ostensibly that's the reason for it. It's not the reason. This is an excuse for chaos. The tolerance level of our government for what happened on Inauguration Day in Washington, D.C. in 2017 is unacceptable. And that set yet another example for not dealing with this nonsense. You don't allow people to behave in this fashion. It's not acceptable. It's not the resource. It's not the recourse. Right. So that's my view on Minneapolis. Hey, folks, excuse me. Welcome to the folks. Excuse me, I need a little sip here. Welcome to the folks who've tuned in just recently. This is Chris on Indaba, Africa, coming to you from central Pennsylvania. This is the Escape from South Africa edition. I'm going to talk about that in just a couple moments here. Renaldo Gouws was supposed to be on the program, but he was called away, and so we rescheduled for later this evening, 9 p.m. South Africa time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the east coast of the U.S., and 8 o'clock in Abuja and London for those in Europe and West Africa. So let me get back to the chat here. Brett says South Africa's lockdown has actually worked pretty good. The COVID-19 spread has been limited. However, it has wrecked their economy. Well, we don't know that, Brett. What's your basis for that? We just discovered here that South Africa has got 100,000 tests backlog. They don't even know who has COVID-19. The number of cases have gone from a dozen to 29,000. So, not to be argumentative, Brett, but what do you mean it's been effective? How has it been effective? They have the most cases on the continent. The rate of infection is increasing every day. If the purpose of the lockdown was to prepare the country for a medical surge, apparently in the Western Cape it wasn't enough. Now hospitals are finally being hit with so many patients that it's causing problems. So when you say it's effective, not you, Brett, but anybody says it's effective, I think it's a subjective point. You've got to give us data points and say, well, this is what we hoped to achieve, and we did achieve it. Now, yeah, let me leave it at that. And Brett, you can jump back in there if I missed something. All right, so lab technician is COVID. Okay. My hair is in dire need of a haircut. Barber's not allowed to open. Yeah, well, you're not alone, man. Look at this. Look at this. I need a haircut, too. Don't believe their figures. They're BS. They just don't make any sense. Yeah. Our lockdown is being abused to change legislation without... Yeah, well, exactly. Bite your ankles. I agree with that. South Africa's lockdown is being used as an excuse to undemocratically change society by circumventing the legislative process and the democracy in South Africa. The National Coronavirus Command Council is accountable to no one, not even to the president. The president says on level 3 or level 4, he said that cigarettes will be available. Nope. And Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma says nope. She overrode the president as the head of the command council. And then the president said that you'll be able to exercise 24 hours a day and you'll be able to buy alcohol. And then we find out you can't exercise 24 hours a day and you can only buy alcohol during limited periods because the Coronavirus Command Council has circumvented the executive. So the courts are not involved, the parliament's not involved, and even the executive's not involved. An undemocratic, unelected body is running South Africa into the ground. And that is the problem. Well, one of the many problems that South Africans face. Yep. Matt, what's up? What's up? Can't process tests, but yeah. Thank you, Allison. They can't process tests. They're reopening schools, but only grades 7 and 12, by the way. So the rest of those kids got to stay home. 7 and 12, I guess that's ostensibly because they're going to advance on to graduate or to go into high school. I don't know. And they're not providing personal protective equipment. Absolutely. Glenn Venter says, oops, now pratini muini. Ice. Okay, you're talking to Brett. Let me catch up here. The concerned after the Minnesota incident, those coppers should be brought to book. It is people such as that, white or black, whatever the color, who are caused racial hatred. Well, I agree with you, a concerned African, that people like that should be brought to book and they should be accountable for their actions. But we don't know all the facts. So, I mean, on the face of it, what I've seen, it seems very clear that there's some kind of violation of law and this person's rights, and it seems to be excessive. And let's let the system deal with it. If the system is inadequate in the end, then we have an issue to raise. But it's not simply actions like that. There are race merchants, race baiters who exist solely for the opportunity to take advantage of an incident like this. So it doesn't matter. You know, we can find Asian Americans or white Americans or other Americans who've died in similar circumstances, and there's video footage of it, and no outrage and no demonstrations, no riots in the streets. That's because there aren't race merchants sitting around waiting for an opportunity to destroy and divide this country for their own ideology. That's the problem. And the same thing in South Africa. We can see this all the time. We see the way white South Africans be abused, and no one's saying anything. We see no footage of colored South Africans be abused, but you know that it's happening in their homes, in the places where colored South Africans live, in Indians. Yep, you know it's happening. Black South Africans too. But since Collins Khosa's murder, we see virtually no coverage of the abuse of South Africans. Yeah, no. Anyway, so I had a video I wanted to show from the BBC, but I'm going to hold off on that because I'm afraid the red ants will cut me off again. There's a very good video on South Africa about the red ants and the Joburg Metro Police destroying homes and evicting informal settlements, settlers in informal settlements in the midst of the COVID-19 crisis. Really heartbreaking. Totalitarian rule by a bunch of criminals. So I agree. Brett says, although the NC is abusing this lockdown, I don't think they will give the people's basic liberties back once the stuff. Yeah, that's probably true. I think that's part of the problem. Bite Your Ankle says, there's some good cases in court at present. Liberty Fighters Network is taking on the entire lockdown. Well, good luck with the cases. Definitely, that's the right approach to take it on that basis. I think the ANC is a bit surprised at how their ideas aren't quite working out the way they expected. Variable Vision says, absolutely, those race merchants are called the Democratic Party. Yeah, certainly a lot of people in the Democratic Party are race merchants. They trade in hatred, and they should be ashamed of themselves. It's ironic. It's always the people who are most vocal that calling people names like homophobe and racist and bigot. They're usually the ones that are actually those things. Take attention to that. Pay attention to that. Sonia, good evening. Welcome. Glad to see you made it here. We'll go on for a little bit longer, folks. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Once again, for those expecting Renaldo Gouws, not here. He's got a day job, busy. Sorry for that. Also sorry for the break in the stream earlier. We will reconvene for a meeting at 9 p.m. South Africa time, 3 in the afternoon here on the East Coast of the U.S., and at 8 p.m. in Abuja in London, so that we can have Renaldo on. I'm gonna interview him, ask a little bit about his background, his motivations, where he's coming from. We're not going to talk about Pickle Rick. We're not going to talk about. But anyway, so if you want to tune in for that, please feel free to tune in. And I'll try to catch your questions. I'll have a little whiteboard here as we go through and make sure I'm asking them of Renaldo. And we can't promise to catch all of them, but I'll catch as many as I can. Jesse, welcome aboard. Good to see you there. Indy, excuse me, Indy LWATH, lockdown failed, so why continue it? Not even near the peak yet, and they're winding down the lockdown. Just end the whole thing, as it was obviously a failure in killing what's left of SA. Agreed. Absolutely with you 100% there, Indy. You are spot on. And by the same token, right here in the United States, the same nonsense, the People's Commonwealth, or the Communist Wealth of Pennsylvania under Governor Tom Wolf, destroying small and medium enterprises by the hundreds all around us, with this insane lockdown that is accomplishing very little. Counties with less than 100 cases of COVID-19 are locked down, with only a handful or no fatalities are locked down, although those have just been released last Friday, many of them. But we still sit here in lockdown. And for what? What's the purpose of this? What is it achieving? I have no idea. There's no evidence to support their position. So Jesse says, I at least have a window next week to make it home to my family. So, there you go, Jesse. Well, thank goodness. Glad that you get to go home and see family. For those who have been separated from their loved ones, particularly from your children, couples get divorced, life happens. For those separated couples or divorced and one parent has custody of the child, and you've been separated physically from your children because of this idiocy from the African National Congress, I feel for you, and I hope that you're able to see your children and that they're well, and or your loved ones, your parents or grandparents who've been isolated. I hope that people are well, their mental health, that they're well. Bite Your Ankle says, ANC overreaching during the lockdown has opened the eyes of many of their supporters. EFF tried to step up and are laughed off, so we must have a good chance of DA winning the next election. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, if the Democratic Alliance fails to take a majority in Cape Town, which should be a given, Nelson Mandela Bay, where they got 45% of the vote in 2016, in Johannesburg, where they got 42% of the vote, or 38% of the vote, excuse me, or in Tshwane, Pretoria, where they got 42% of it. If they fail to take a majority in those metropolitan areas, then there is little hope for South Africa. This is a no-brainer. It's easy to do between disgruntled members of the public who are now angry at the African National Congress for the abuse that they've heaped on them as citizens, whether they're black, Asian, Indian, or colored. And the number of people who won't bother to vote because they've been disillusioned now should be prompted into voting over anger over this destruction, this wanton, intentional destruction of South Africa's economy, of South African society, and the suspension of the civil, sorry about that, got my hair back there, the civil liberties of South Africans en masse by an overly aggressive and unreasonable government full of self-important, pompous people who pontificate endlessly to tell the rest of us how life is. Very similar to a situation in parts of the United States, here on the East Coast. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, once again, only 8 states out of the 50 states in the United States account for 70% of the confirmed cases of COVID-19 4 or 5 months into this nonsense. They account for 74% of the deaths as well. Excuse me, I got that backwards. They account for 70% of the deaths and 74% of the cases. Those states are all controlled by Democratic governors and in many cases Democratic legislatures. And look what we've got. Utter chaos. Now, to be fair, in interest of full disclosure, they also happen to be states that have amongst the majority of the larger metros, but not exclusively. So New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, these are all Democratic controlled, and this is where we see the virus. But 70% of the fatalities are in 8 states. Yet we've shut the entire country down on the basis of faulty models, faulty data, and hysterical leadership. The only vision in the country I see is coming from right there. There you go. That's the only guy that's leading. The only guy who's stepping up and saying this makes sense. President Donald Trump declared houses of worship to be essential services. How do you like that for leadership? Yeah, as governors attempt to shut down people's houses of worship, whether it's synagogue, church, or mosque, the president has stepped up and signed executive orders saying that houses of worship are essential services. In fact, they are for people's spiritual and mental well-being. Yet they're being banned. Speaking of that, in South Africa, I listened to President Ramaphosa say that churches would be open and it would be up to 50 people. And that's what the regulation says. But then Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma came on and said that only 20 people can go to church. Anyway, I'm missing some comments over here. Let me catch up. They're retrenching because of other reasons, but gussing it as financial issues, they're cleaning house. You cannot lock down a country where for that long with so many depend on informal work and earn next to nothing regardless of lockdown. Yeah, well, and their reaction to the informal sector has been short-sighted and limited and ineffective at best. ANC lost appetite for the hard lockdown. They've seen it's damaging their future votes, but they will use the remainder of the lockdown. Yeah, to criminalize South Africans who are honest, law-abiding citizens so that you can't seek employment, you can't travel abroad, you can't purchase firearms. That is part of what's going on now, clearly an intent. There ought to be some round dismissals of all these ridiculous cases of sitting on a beach, criminal action. These things ought to be dismissed out of hand by judges. We'll see what happens as these cases come to the docket starting in August. Yanni says the hope here is that everyone remembers ANC's behavior comes time. Absolutely. Well, that is the responsibility of all South Africans who care about their country, who are loyal and patriotic, whether you're in South Africa or you're abroad. All of you should be capturing all the footage, all the comments, all the quotes, all the press conferences. All of this stuff should be caught right now. And it should have been caught throughout this so that you can turn that into documentaries. You can turn it into 30, 60, 1-minute shots on television, on social media, on Twitter, on YouTube, on paid television, wherever you can get it. Posters, put these things up to remind all South Africans about the capricious and out-of-control conduct of the African National Congress and how the ANC accomplished what international sanctions never could accomplish when it came to the National Party and apartheid. The ANC has destroyed South Africa's economy and made millions of South Africans destitute, something that we could never accomplish to end apartheid with sanctions. There you have it. Oh, strong words? Perhaps. Facts? Yeah, absolutely. They have accomplished so much as far as wanton destruction. And they're going to blame it on COVID-19. But the reality, ladies and gentlemen, South Africans, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. The country was already on the skids long before COVID-19 came along. Long before. The country is an utter disaster, courtesy of malgovernance, malfeasance, patronage, pilfering. Anyway, very disturbing. Now, tune in 2 years ago and watch me give lectures and discussions about South Africa, and you will see me much more balanced and calm and saying there's hope for South Africa. But clearly, the rot has set in so deep that the ANC needs to leave power. Through the ballot box, ladies and gentlemen. Get out there and make it happen. It's your responsibility. If you're a South African voter, you make it happen. We can't change it. Only you can. On News 24, May I please have Annalene Gill ask for email address. Annalene, for everyone tuning in here, let me very quickly let you know, I don't say my email address over the air because this thing sits there forever. The Chinese sit around, cut and paste it, put it in their dossier. Ooh, Wyatt. No. And also don't put it up in the text. But what you can do if you're interested, because this just saves, I mean, you can get my email address, and I'm telling you how to get it now, but I don't want the bots getting it. So if you go to my YouTube channel, open up another tab, go back to the channel, and across the top, you'll see videos and all these different tabs there. You'll see an About tab. Click on the About tab, and below that is a video from me introducing the channel, and then text explaining what the channel is about. And just below that, you'll see email address for business purposes. Just click on that. A little window will come up that you have to click to prove that you're not a bot. It's not an automated harvesting of an email address. And once it does that, it will reveal, ta-da, my email address. And then you can email me. Please do that. I do check my email, and I appreciate it. For those tuning in late, they were hoping to find Renaldo Gouws here. He's not here. He'll be coming at 9 p.m. South African time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard here in the U.S. This is the Escape from South Africa stream from Stray Voltage, and I haven't even gotten to the thing I'm going to talk about. I'm very close to getting to it. Anyway, yeah, so you can find my email address there, Annalene, if you'd like. Sean says, I also think that we will have a fight for civil liberties. The courts might, yeah, you're going to be fighting for that. Whoa. Daniel says the EFF will, in the next 20, 30 years, win the elections. I don't think so, Daniel. I don't think that's an accurate reading of what's actually happening in the country. I think that the EFF will plateau at 15%. I don't think they'll get much beyond that unless there's social chaos. The majority of South Africans don't really care for that nonsense. The racialization is a tool used by the ANC and by the media to achieve political goals. And it's not the true feeling of many South Africans of all races, in my experience, having been all over the country. Only political party with sense is Freedom Front Plus. The problem with the Freedom Front Plus, of course, your boss, is it has a historical reputation of being a right-wing, and I'm not saying this is what the party is, but this is the reputation, a right-wing, whites-only racist party. That's difficult to overcome. Now, in the last election, 2019, I read their party platform. I don't say manifesto because I hate that word. That's what communists use. But I read their party platform, and I read what they're in favor of, and they seem far more centrist these days than they were in the past. If that's their true feelings, then they owe it to the country to recruit people who are not simply white Afrikaans-speaking members of the party. Yes, I know they have others, but that is a big component of their vote. And the Freedom Front Plus, if they want to be a real opposition party, needs to go beyond that narrow base. This is a problem that the DA had early in its history. It was viewed wrongly as a whites-only party or a white liberals-only party. Maybe the white liberals is fair because it was a lot of white liberals. But the party has grown by leaps and bounds despite its losing the plot from 2016 to 2019. It's back on track now. So the Democratic Alliance broadened its base. If you'll notice, they nearly captured Gauteng in the last elections. The reason for that is because they got a significant portion of the black vote. 16 or 18% of black voters voted for the DA, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have exact figures. Don't call me on that. But the point is that they reached beyond their traditional base or what was perceived to be their base. The Freedom Front Plus must do the same thing. Otherwise, they'll be a minor party into perpetuity. And by the same token, the Inkatha Freedom Party needs to stop being the party of the Zulus. It has legitimate positions when it comes to what it'd like to see for governance and can be a viable alternative political opposition party, but it needs to be more than just Zulus in the party. Because the Zulus are divided ever since Zuma took over between the ANC and, or even before that, but between the ANC and IFP. The IFP has increasingly become a less and less important party since '94 in every subsequent election. So the IFP needs to broaden its base as well. That's just generally something that all the opposition parties in South Africa should be trying to do. Sean says, we've arrested and jailed more surface and South African state capture criminals. Yeah, and more people have been murdered, most likely, since this started by a factor of 10 than those who've died from COVID-19. Covered that in my video most recently. Or no, I did on LinkedIn. 57 murders per day before COVID-19. We don't know what the stats are because they're not releasing them. But even with people locked down, there's still people being murdered, home invasions taking place across South Africa, and people being murdered each and every day. And that far exceeds, whatever the figure is, that we don't know, certainly far exceeds what COVID-19 deaths have been. What are your thoughts on Christian Mulder says, what are your thoughts on President Trump executive order on social media? I haven't seen it. I heard he was going to announce it. I have to see what the executive order says because the president is not the legislature. He does not have, excuse me, I have a scam phone call coming in here. Let me tell these people to foot sick. Bye-bye. Get out of here. Anyway, I don't know what the executive order says, so I'm going to have to read into it if he has issued it and what and how it applies. The problem with executive orders is that presidents, when you look at an executive order, The executive order applies to the executive branch of the government. So that's everyone in the military, everyone who works for all the different departments, justice, the FBI, all of those people work for the president, and he has jurisdiction over them. But he doesn't have jurisdiction over American citizens. He's just part of the federal government. It's three legs to it. We've got a Supreme Court, we've got a legislature, the Congress, and we've got the executive branch. And he's just one of those. And so that executive order, in my view, the executive orders can't apply everywhere. Now, we have a history of presidents, especially in the last 50 years, issuing executive orders that go beyond their reach, and they get away with it because people don't challenge these things in the court. Like, for instance, Barack Obama used an executive order to prevent the Keystone XL pipeline from being developed in the mountain states and the prairie states out west to prevent Canadian tar sands oil from getting through pipelines down to the Gulf states to be refined in the most effective and efficient way to do it. Instead, the Canadians are trying to build a pipeline through the Rocky Mountains and pristine ecological areas to get to Vancouver to load it into ships that are in a very dangerous and narrow sea lane that would have immense ecological damage if one of these things crashed. It far worse than the Exxon Valdez ever had. To ship this stuff all the way across the Pacific to the Chinese, who of course will refine it in their own refineries and are not nearly as clean ecologically as ours are. And they will, of course, release all kinds of pollution and burn it there. That was the plan. And that's what Barack Obama and the environmentalists prevented from happening, was it coming through a pipeline using gravity, most part, flowing all the way down to the Gulf states, and then being processed there by the most efficient refineries on the planet that are designed for that particular low quality of petroleum. Yeah, so executive order. Now, an example of executive order, let me help with this here too. So in the executive branch, if you're military or one of these other departments, your security clearance and your access to classified information is guided by executive order. But members of Congress are not affected by that because the executive order doesn't apply to Congress. They're not part of the executive branch. So Congress has its own methods for issuing clearances and access to things. And so you have to have a reciprocal agreement between the executive branch and the legislative branch to let congressmen see classified information generated by the executive branch and vice versa. Anyway, so I don't know what to say about Trump's executive order on social media. I'm glad he's saying something about it. The shameful conduct of Twitter, fact-checking the president's opinions. They're opinions. And who are they? It's cheeky of them to fact-check. They don't fact-check the Chinese Communist Party. They don't fact-check Alyssa Milano and the bile that comes out of her mouth. Yeah, she should have been banned from Twitter a long time ago. So I'm not so sure right now, Christian. Bite your ankles. Big Daddy Liberty is also going around to rural towns and making people aware of the NC. Yeah, but Big Daddy Liberty needs help. He needs more people to be along there with him and to do this. So what time are we at? We're at 12:35 here. I was going to go for about an hour. Let me go a little bit longer here, folks. Let me see. HBM Air. Whoops. Okay. Sorry about that. My mouse is just too... Herman says, be careful when talking... You were talking about my family when you're talking about the Freedom Front Plus. Okay, sure, Herman. Did I say anything bad? I don't think I did, or are you saying that in a lighthearted manner? I just said the perception that people have had of the party and my views on where the party's platform is, which I don't have any objections to based on the 2019. Fully agree. I tell people join Chris and Big Daddy Liberty if they want to see what's really going on. Cage. Majority of South Africans conservative and moderate, but don't pay too much attention to black Twitter. Not a good representation. Yeah, that's probably true. DA is the only party that can affect change. Now, I agree with that, bite your ankles, but what should happen, what would really happen in a healthy democracy is these other parties that gain votes and have support with the DA in the 2021 municipal elections gaining a majority, no coalition, a majority, then can bring coalition partners in, but it's not dependent on those coalition partners. You don't have to take a criminal from another coalition partner who's going to embezzle and take funds just to hold your coalition together, which is something the DA refused to do, and that's why Nelson Mandela fell apart. Nelson Mandela Bay coalition fell apart because of criminals and their coalition partners. You don't have to do that if you have a majority. You can bring in a UDM politician as part of your coalition, give them so and build a team. But if they misbehave, you can dismiss them, and you don't have to worry about your coalition falling apart. Even if the party leaves, you still have a majority. So they should get the majority, and then they can have to show that the oppositions can function without the ANC. Yeah, it doesn't have to simply be a bifurcated battle between the ANC and DA. But yeah, the only way that things are going to change in 2021 is if the DA wins a majority in those places I've talked about at a minimum. Yep. I said, I just caught this headline, riots destroy 30 million affordable housing project. Yeah, there you go. You care so much about Black Lives Matter that now we're assuming that the affordable housing is just for black folks. It's not. It's for lots of folks, including immigrants from Somalia and Vietnamese and also Anglo-Americans. So anyway, ANC refused food parcels to IFP members as well. Yep. Inkatha Freedom Party. Yep, right. They ought to get together. Rita Kobus van Staden. Hi, Chris. Yeah, I'm in South Africa and still in level 5. Oh, my God. Variable vision. What we need is a broad civil federalist movement. No more political parties, politicians getting salaries paid by the government. Yeah, that's part of the problem. Absolutely. The other piece of this is that the way your system is done in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen, is not democratic. Sorry, no intent to offend. And people can say that our system's not democratic. It's not. It's a representative democracy. But in South Africa, you have what's purported to be a representative democracy that's not. It's a parliamentary democracy. So, the parties choose who the candidates will be. And they put together a list, and then you vote not for the candidate, but for the party. And they can, of course, change that person at any time. So you are denied and robbed of your vote. So if you vote for a party, you get whomever they send you, whether they're competent, honest, or not, or whether they represent you, whether they look like you or sound like you, doesn't matter. It's up to the party that wins the percentage. So that's not a very fair system. I don't like it at all. And there are shortcomings in our system as well, but I think it's a major shortcoming in South Africa. Muriel Hayes. Hi, Muriel. I don't think I've seen you on the stream before. If you have been here, thank you for coming. If you haven't, listen, if you're not a subscriber to this channel, you're just tuning in, feel free to become a subscriber. There's no charge. I don't have, this isn't a monetized site. That probably happened at some point as part of my consultancy, but this is not a monetized, and I'll continue to do the free things, especially during lockdown for folks. So feel free to subscribe by smashing that subscription button right there. Be sure to toggle that little bell icon so you get notifications whenever YouTube decides that they want to notify you. In theory, it's supposed to notify you every time a video is up or a stream is up, but in practice, we all know that that's sporadic at best. But nonetheless, toggle it so you are supposed to get notifications. And then finally, I ask you again to smash the like button right there. If you found this in the least bit thought-provoking, provocative, interesting, if you like it. You don't have to like it because you agree with it. You can like it because you disagree with it. But please smash the like button. It's not for my ego. It's inflated plenty on its own. It doesn't need help to inflate my ego. The like button helps drive viewership. The more likes as a percentage of actual views, the more likely this will be promoted on other people's channels. So when you open up your YouTube and you see these videos down there, go, oh, what's this one? Ooh, let me click on that. Like I had one promoted to me when it first came out. That was from the Kifness about his South Africa, his rendition of the anthem, which I struggled with that a little bit. I found it hilarious, but I did put it on my stream because it is a little bit insulting to the nation's anthem. I don't like when people insult the Star Spangled Banner. So I found it humorous. I didn't take it the wrong way. But anyway, so that was promoted on when I went to YouTube because I have an interest in South Africa, and so it popped up there, even though I wasn't subscribed to his channel. So the same thing will happen. If I'm talking about Africa and people like it and promote it, it'll get promoted by YouTube, in theory. So I ask you to do that. Right. Allison loves my Afrikaans accent. Well, thank you so much. You'll like my German one even better, or my French one. Oui, je pense que c'est peut-être le temps où je dois parler en français, parce que quand je suis en France, les Français ils disent toujours que l'accent de moi c'est un peu bizarre, mais les Québécois ils sont vraiment d'accord avec l'accent parce que c'est plus facile de comprendre. C'est la même chose en Afrique de l'Ouest. En Afrique de l'Ouest, tous les gens ils comprennent les mots. Vient de mots. Anyway, so there's a little bit of French for folks who speak French. Those of you who are Afrikaners and have French Huguenot ancestry, that tie is probably a little too far in the past, unless you study French. But thank you, Allison. Yanni says your Tsek pronunciation was perfect. Well, thank you, Yanni. But my Votsek is not as, Fotsek is what I say. I don't know, it's not nearly as good. Tsek is just easier. Let's see what else. Communism, equal opportunity oppressor. It is, ladies and gentlemen, that should be the slogan. The ANC is an equal opportunity oppressor. Yes, that's what you should share with folks today. Equal opportunity oppressor. That's a good one. How do you like that? Anyway. Yeah, all right. So please all share the channel. Thank you, Bite Your Ankles. Isis, did you see the reply you got from the mayor who called Kifness racist? Worth a watch. He uploaded the phone call. I saw the call because I think Roman put it on his video, his morning shot. I caught that on Roman Kabanek's morning shot. Speaking of French, he's from France originally. But I saw that on there, and I listened to part of it. Look, the mayor of Ekurhuleni is just, the guy is, anyway. What can you say about that guy? I do think it was pretty cool that Scott, the Kifness, called up the mayor and they actually had a conversation about this. Listen, the racist is, anytime you criticize a politician in South Africa, you're racist, according to the ruling party and the EFF. But they can call Helen Zille a whore and sleeping with her boyfriends because she has an all-male cabinet, and that's not That's not misogyny. That's not racism. The fact that she's white. It's just, look, ladies and gentlemen, anybody that knows anything about South Africa knows that this racism is utter nonsense. Are there racists in South Africa? Yes, absolutely. Are there racists who are white? Sure. Are there racists who are black? You're damn skippy there are. Sadly, there are racists everywhere in the world. These are people with a worldview that one race is better than another, and that they act on that in an effort to promote one group over another because one group's better than another. That's their business. If it doesn't intrude in my life, then stay away from me. That's fine. But everything is racialized. Any legitimate criticism is termed racism, and people see it for what it is. Most people. It's up to the opposition parties to get out and break that nonsense and share people. Show you care about South Africans. Show that their lives matter to you, especially if they're different than you. If you're black and go out to white communities, that's important. If you're white, you go to black communities, that's important. Absolutely. Same thing here in the States. Anyway, people just automatically go to the, not that French. Let's see. Yeah, so Sean says, how many languages do you speak? Well, Sean, I speak 6 languages to varying degrees of proficiency. 3 of them fluently. English, I count that one. My mother tongue, German, which was my second foreign language. French, which was my next to last foreign language. So English, German, French, Afrikaans, Setswana, Swahili. The Afrikaans and Setswana I've never been fluent at, but I understand Afrikaans. I can read it, I can listen to it, I listen to music, watch television programs, and keep up with a good portion of it, but I don't speak it. I don't even pretend to speak it. My most famous line for those who've listened to my program before is "Ek praat nie Afrikaans nie," because every time I go to Mozambique or somewhere like that, I'm riding around. You're an Afrikaner. I show an American passport. You're an Afrikaner. No, I'm not an Afrikaner. I'm an American. Here's my military ID card. No, I'm American. No, you're an Afrikaner. Okay. So anyway, and when I was in Wellington, New Zealand for the Rugby World Cup in 2011, the hotel I was staying in, the Hotel Amora, the South African High Commission had rented the business center downstairs, and it was full of colored South Africans who were based in Wellington, and they saw me wearing my Springbok jersey. Hey, Bokke, Bokke, kom! So I went over, and they started talking to me in Afrikaans, these coloreds. I'm like, whoa, 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 ek praat nie Afrikaans nie. Like, yeah, you do. You just said it. The problem is that I'm only going to be able to keep up with about 70% of the conversation. So anyway, Afrikaans, I don't really speak it, but I understand it. And I understand some Italian too, but I don't even mention that one usually. But Setswana, I get by on enough phrases that I can understand people, but not spoken. But yeah, to varying degrees of proficiency, 6 languages, 3 of them fluently, 2 of them native proficiency, and that would be English and German. Often mistaken for being a German in Germany. Although I don't speak it much these days, so it's declined. You don't use these things. It's like muscles. You got to use them all the time. Okay. Let's see. Not that French. Bite your ankles. Our Constitution is the most advanced as it contains the Human Rights Bill, but our voting system allows you to choose a party, and then you have to sit back and hope they do what they... Yeah. Yeah, you have a very liberal constitution, an incredibly lengthy constitution in South Africa. It's too lengthy. Ours is very simple and elegant. I'm biased, but yeah, there you have it. Also, most constitutions around the world are based off the inspiration of the U.S. Constitution, which is the oldest continuous constitution in effect at this point in history, I believe. Mr. Dwayne says, when this is all over, want to go for a 5-day hike through the Drakensberg? Yeah, that would be awesome, man. That would be so cool. I love the Drakensberg, and I wouldn't mind the exercise. Yeah, that would be cool. Thanks for that offer. Chris, where's the Hemsbach tonight? Oh, where is the Hemsbach? Yeah. Here he is. Okay, asking for my therapy pet. Here's my Hemsbach. Yeah, this is my therapy Hemsbach for those who are curious. This is a made in Africa product. There you go. That's right. Born in Africa. Paid 160 pula for this. Back when the pula was worth a lot more than it is today. So it's about twice the price it would be today. So that's my therapy pet. And then, of course, we always have the Bokke who joins me here. So I know I'm wearing a Stormers jersey, but he's just going to hang out up there for a moment. So, yeah, the Hemsbach is around. Although I think you misspelled it, Douglas. It should be a G. Let's see. Pete Retief. Well, I hope that I don't meet the same end that Pete Retief met. Betrayal by Dingani and, watching all of my mates be murdered in front of me. The good news for Pete Retief is he got Dingani to sign the agreement. And so we have proof of the betrayal of the Zulus in that particular time. Codesa, recipe for dictatorship. Yeah, some of the things that came out of Codesa weren't very good, but honestly, Codesa was a tough situation. All the folks. And call white horrible names. Yeah. So why are the P? I don't know that. I understand, Muriel, where you're going with that. You stated you're an expert in African affairs. What about Saudi Arabia? Are you an expert in political, social affairs of this country? And area of negotiating on behalf of NGOs. Did I say I was an expert or a specialist? If I said I was an expert, okay, maybe I did. It's always dangerous to say you're an expert in something. Well, I don't know just African affairs. I mean, I'm a historian and a political scientist as well, and I was an intelligence officer for decades. So my background understanding is much more diverse than Africa, but Africa is what I'm focused on now because I'm trying to get Americans interested in North Americans, not just Americans, Canadians as well, in investing in Africa so that we don't become second-rate global economic powers in the year 2050. And that's really what I'm trying to do. Also, make people more aware of Africa. It's not simply the Afrique noire of the past, darkest Africa. Africa has changed in so many ways and is still changing, and people who ignore that will find themselves falling behind at some point. But yeah, I have spent a third of my adult life living in Europe, serving in the Army in Germany 3 tours, Italy 1 tour, deployed to the Balkans, involved in NATO operations for decades, very familiar with the history of Eastern Europe, Western Europe. Beyond that, I have less experience and knowledge about Asia, but that doesn't mean I don't know anything about Asia. I know a fair amount about Asia, Australia, New Zealand. Yeah, the world is my oyster when it comes to that sort of thing. I know a fair amount about Saudi Arabia. I've been there, been deployed there for the Gulf War, and actually was learning Arabic, but I've intentionally forgotten all that Arabic. Don't even claim to speak Arabic. But I look like Pete Retief. I thought I looked like Paul Kruger here, but anyway, Pete Retief. Yeah, so the Father Christmas look is now my COVID-19 reaction. There we go. And I'm keeping it for now. Although I've discovered a lot of my South African subscribers seem to like it. And a lot of people think I look like a bore. So I worry that if I shave it off, maybe I'll lose some of my audience. But anyway, that's another fish to fry in another time. So what are you an expert on political and social affairs in this country? You talk about Saudi Arabia in the area of negotiating on behalf of NGOs. No, when it comes to Saudi Arabia, I don't have any experience in helping in knowing how non-government organizations would work in Saudi Arabia. That's part of something I don't know about. The geopolitics at the larger scale, that's something I can talk about, but really can't talk about NGOs in Saudi Arabia. Not at all. That's not something I have any background. I've worked with a lot of NGOs, mostly in Africa, so I can talk about it there. Are the unopposed case in court reverse any I don't know. That's a good question about your ankles. Sean says, visit me in South Africa after the apocalypse and I'll sort your Afrikaans accent out and refine your proficiency with lots of wine for Cape. Actually, Sean, that's not a bad point. You know, when I was in the Cape Winelands and I was speaking Afrikaans, my Afrikaans was quite good, actually. a couple glasses of wine, things changed dramatically. Anyway, let me see. Lizanne, hey. Cool, we'll be in touch. International travel is allowed. We'd love to hear your stories around a campfire. Yeah, no, I just picture myself sitting there with Bok van Blerk and who else was in that video? Refrenza and a couple others were in that video. That Rika Snell, I think, was in it. Hadekol. I love that song. Sitting around the fire in the veld there, yeah, in the bush, in the bosveld. Yeah, good stuff. Hadekol. Yeah, that'd be cool. Hi again. Oh, you were gone, Kyle. You missed the stream. Well, yeah, we're close to the end here. I'm going to wrap up in just a couple minutes. Even we got a good sized audience here because I got to. Well, no, I don't have to run that quickly, but I do have to prep for Renaldo at 9 o'clock. You didn't miss Renaldo, Kyle. I think you were here earlier. Ice is talking about your ankle. Says I don't mean just a few people in SAPS. I mean the whole of SAPS. They have more gangs infiltrated. Oh yeah, okay. Bite your ankles. We definitely need the public protector replaced. She just missed 2 cases. And, yeah, she needs to go. Released by the Institute for Race Relations. They've released at least 3 reports over the years. Hi from, hey, MacFire, welcome. Glad to see you here. Evening, Olaf. Only here for 5 minutes. Okay, well, thanks for coming for 5 minutes. Saps forget they're living in SA where angry mobs take down their houses and families. And, yeah, well, in Minneapolis, people do the same sort of thing, apparently. In Los Angeles, Black Lives Matter. All right, so this was supposed to be Escape from South Africa. So let me cover that real quick. Lee Lowe, I love your sense of humor. The Bushveld is the best. Yeah, Afrikaans ist die beste. Yeah. Ich stimme auch. Ja, stimme zu. Je suis d'accord. All right, so this was the Escape from New York, the play, as one of subscribers correctly pointed out, on Snake Plissken in Escape from New York. So this comes from Gavin Bell, and it was released just a few hours before I came on the stream today. And this is a gentleman who is apparently a Brit and escaped from South Africa after the COVID-19. He said that He said, we were fortunate having a winter home with a large garden in a tranquil farming village in the Cape Winelands, but it was as if we were living in an illusionary bubble as a storm gathered strength around us. The instigation of a hard lockdown that banned alcohol and any form of exercise after 9 a.m. seemed to be breeding increasing frustration and a sense of endless confinement. Then finally came blissful word from the British High Commission was coming to the rescue with 10 repatriation flights from Cape Town and Johannesburg. We were among the first to put our names on the list. Twitter became our daily must-read for updates and advice from the Commission, which informed us we would be on the first flight home. The dark cloud hovering over our refuge vanished. There were 300 of us, but it was a smoothly carried out operation with South African health personnel checking temperatures and medical forms and High Commission staff ushering us into a waiting hall and dispensing food and drinks. Here, we found ourselves among vaguely familiar faces. Yep, so this is a Brit who escaped from South Africa. The short bus ride to the airport was eerie. A fiery golden dawn rose over the eastern hills beneath the laden gray skies, and we sped along empty highways through a city with no signs of life. There was it's almost like, what's that one with Will Smith, where he's in New York, Hitch or something like that? Anyway, there was a sense of furtive escape from a hushed, fearful city that reminded me of my foreign correspondent days on leaving Beijing in the aftermath of the Tiananmen Square massacre. We arrived at a silent, empty airport devoid of travelers, where the rows of unused baggage trolleys ranged outside darkened halls like discarded relics of a bygone era. Sounds like a novel. There were no long queues at check-in, security, or passport control, and soon we were watching a lone British Airways 747 touchdown and trundle towards our gate. And excited nonetheless. Yes, the 7th Cavalry had arrived on a wing and a prayer. Yes, and he says COVID-19 restrictions also ruled out alcoholic drinks to celebrate our deliverance, and social distancing was impossible on a fully booked flight. But we didn't care. We were just glad to be going home, and arriving back on UK soil has seldom felt so good. And there you have it, the words of Gavin Bell on his escape from South Africa, from the clutches of the ANC's draconian and questionable legal authority for a lockdown in South Africa. Gavin Bell safely back in the United Kingdom, and apparently COVID-19 free. He managed to escape the Western Cape. Pretty crazy stuff there, huh, guys? Yeah. So I thought I'd read that to you. Yanni says, I'm the coolest American he knows. Well, thanks, Yanni. I really appreciate that. But then I probably, how many Americans do you know? Well, hopefully a lot, so I'm way up on that list. So I am legend. Yeah, Kurt Darren, yes, legend. Yes, legend. Great song. Kurt Darren, fantastic. Somebody said something earlier on one of the other streams about Kurt Darren butchering the national anthem. I take it he doesn't sing the other languages quite as well as he does Afrikaans. Maybe that's what that was about. But I've not heard Kurt Darren ever sing the national anthem, so I don't recall. Maybe he did a rugby game and I forgot about it. Observe what is going on by June 22nd, 2020. This is the beginning of a global pushback against the elite. Well, it's already started here in the United States, but it's being distracted now, and the media is not paying attention to it because of the riots by unlawful clowns in Minneapolis and Los Angeles, for starters. Lucky ducky. Christoph says, thanks for your stream. I'm always really more informed after your talk. Appreciate it. Well, Christoph, it's my pleasure. Thank you for coming on. I really enjoy folks joining the stream. And thanks for, Yanni's got a big smile, so I am the only American he knows. Well, just for that, Yanni, I'm going to start monetizing my channel so you can super chat me. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so yeah, that was the whole Snake Plissken play on Escape from New York, Escape from South Africa. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, what I've discussed on today's stream, just so I covered again, is South African Airways business rescue plan. The practitioners have asked for a fourth delay to June 8th as they prepare. And why is this? Because Pravin Gordhan keeps sticking his fingers in the cookie jar, trying to make sure that South African Airlines reemerges as a state-owned enterprise. Pravin Gordhan needs to step back and do something else instead of trying to preserve state-owned enterprises, which have destroyed South Africa's economy and created an anti-competitive business climate, which has detracted foreign investors from going into the market and cost South Africans dearly, with state treasury devoted to propping up unprofitable, corrupt patronage machines that should be liquidated. Yeah, that ain't going to happen to ESCOM, but that should happen to SAA. The impacts of the smoking ban, an article from a person I believe is an American, fantastic comments and assessment talking about what's really happening there. And of course, the shortage of testing capacity in South Africa, which means a backlog of almost 100,000 test kits now sitting there waiting for public health officials to actually process them. Yet on the basis of that, people think that the lockdown is legitimate when they can't even process tests. They have no handle on what's actually happening. And schools open next week. Can you imagine this, ladies and gentlemen? So those are some of the things I talked about. Not to mention, I introduced the arrival of my cap that came in the mail from the Trump campaign. My head's not straight there. Crooked head. There we go. It's all that hair. I'm not used to having all the hair. Keep America Great. This is a 2020 Trump campaign hat. And on the hat, you see on the side there the reference to 45, our 45th president. On the other side, you see Old Glory, the Star Spangled Banner. And then on the back, Trump 2020 in the lovely Duck Dynasty camouflage. And, of course, as I've pointed out multiple times here now, and I run the risk of the Chinese cutting my connection now because I'm going to point out that this cap is made in the USA. That's right. Right there. Made in the USA, ladies and gentlemen. We actually make things in this country. Lovely cap. I'll be sporting this going forward. I'm very excited about that. For those who know me and have paid attention to my streams in the past or know me from other places, you know that I was not a major fan of Donald Trump from the outset. But I'm all in with the Trumpster on the Trump train for 2020. The opposition has offered nothing other than a senile puppet who can't even string sentences together and has no idea what he was doing 5 minutes ago. So the options are quite limited. The Democrats continually put up people that are simply unelectable from my perspective, and so they forced me into a corner. That's how I voted for Trump in 2016. I was forced into a corner. Was not my candidate from the Republican Party or from any party, but that's the guy I voted for, and I will vote for him in 2020. HBM Mayor Lee, I do need a cheetah shirt, but I don't have one. So it's either a trip to South Africa or buy one through the post. But the DHL is quite expensive. So I only buy my Stormers and Springboks jerseys through the post because it's pretty expensive. I'd like a Greekwa jersey too. That'd be pretty cool. HB Mayor says, my daughter had to get a COVID test for 850 Rand before she can go to hospital for her teeth. Crazy to pay cash. Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. Sean says you are going to have a hat show off. Yeah, hat show. I am going to have a hat show off with Renaldo. It was supposed to be a surprise for the stream, but because he's not available, we'll be doing that later on. So we will have a hat show off, and I'll do something about this crazy hair too. It's driving me nuts here. But yeah, we will do a hat show off. But guys, I have a lot of hats. I have a huge collection of hats, hundreds of hats, and I wear them all the time. Of course, that's not so good. You can't see my eyes. Anyway, so lots of them. I have 3 sitting right here at the table. Just I can rotate through. And this isn't even where I keep my hats at. Lots of hats. Rugby World Cup. Oh, well, there you go. There you go. So maybe that's what I'll do is I'll start adding another feature, a unique Chris feature to my show is bring a hat for every program. If you look behind me on the Sevens board up there, which I'm leaving up for the launch on Saturday, I plan to do a live stream of the NASA SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launch with the Crew Dragon capsule. Tomorrow it was scrubbed, so we're going to do it on Saturday. Those 2 hats up there, one says Gulf War veteran and the other is a Cold War veteran. So, or Desert Storm and Operation Enduring Freedom. Sorry, that's the conflict after 9/11. So that's 2 combat campaigns I was part of. Let's see. Sean, your analysis on spot on. Your opinions are very sound. You know more about South Africa compared to the vast majority of South Africans. Very impressed. Thankful for your work. Exposing the NCA. Well, it's my pleasure, Sean. I'm trying. My intent wasn't to expose the NCA. I would prefer that they govern legitimately. And they did in some measure for a long period of time, but they lost the plot many, many years ago, and now the plot is completely gone. They're just winging it and destroying the country. I've got a Sharks jersey, Vernon, and I'll wear the Sharks jersey again. I have worn it on some of my videos. So you got to go back and watch my videos. Then you'll see my Sharks jersey. But I won't tell you which one, so you have to watch a bunch of them. Ice, can we maybe organize a trade shirt for a cap? That's shirts are expensive, man. You have to be a couple caps. I'll send you a cheat. Oh, okay. Bite, blind, totally blind. Army cut? You mean for my hair? I thought I had hats. I cancel medical because I just don't get sick. Touch wood. Drink Sweden bitters for it. My goodness, what are you talking about your ankles? Anyway, let Renaldo show you the Made in China label. Yeah, I know. It's actually, I'm the one that exposed that, Sean, because he had that cap on one day, and I said, yeah, I'll bet it's made in China. I think it was one of the times I called in, he put on, and he said, no, it's not made in China. He turned it over and he goes, look at this, it's made in China. Yeah, that's why I checked my cap before I made it. All these other caps are probably made in China, but not that one. So this one here, I don't know where this one's made at, if it even tells me. I'm sure it's made in China, though. Actually, no, I can't believe it's made in Japan. This actually might have been made in Japan. I didn't even know they made hats in Japan. Or Korea. That's not Chinese. Oh, no, it is China. Ah, look at that. Made in China. See? Yeah, that's what happens when you turn your manufacturing over to a communist state. All right. Dagaboy just came from Willem. Willem Petzer was on. Oh, sorry about that. Glad you're able to join us. I hope that was an interesting stream. He had a video on earlier, which I haven't got a chance to watch, which looked very interesting about who owns the land. So I'm going to watch that. Medical aids are ridiculously expensive in SA. Yeah, no doubt. Let Renaldo show. Yeah, I already covered that. Yeah, so anyway, folks, we've gone for about an hour and 9 minutes. Let me go for about 6 more minutes. That'll make an hour, 15 minutes, plus the abortive 20 minutes from when the Red Ants or the Chinese communists or the leftists in America cut off the stream. And let's not forget that today, those who were expecting to see Renaldo, he will be on the program. That's 9 p.m. in Johannesburg, or in this case, Nelson Mandela Bay. It'd be 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S. East Coast, and that would be at 8 p.m. London and Abuja time for those who want to tune in for that tonight. So you'll catch Renaldo on here. I'll be interviewing him, and I guess we'll do a cap challenge for those who tune in for that. Yeah, so my apologies he wasn't on now, but he has a day job and got called away to that, and he had a conference call, so we had to reschedule. So that'll be coming up. If you're not a subscriber and you've tuned into this just on a sheer lark or ran across it, I'm Chris Wyatt. I'm a retired Army colonel from the U.S. Army with 36 years of service, retired in October of 2019. I have my own consultancy, the Indaba Africa Group, which is where these videos started. But because of the lockdown and people being prisoners in their homes here in the U.S., around the world, and in South Africa especially, I decided that I would do the straight voltage random, live streams as a public service for folks, since I'm not charging for them, just to discuss geopolitical issues and things that come up that people want to talk about. And it's just kind of my way of helping. Also, another thing I do is I do free advertising for businesses in South Africa. I'm happy to do it for all kinds of businesses, but the majority of what I've been doing has been for minority businesses. So here's an example of that. If you've noticed that caricature of me in the upper left-hand quadrant of the screen, that is from Shink Art. Shink is a company based in Bloemfontein. They do caricatures. They do amazing caricatures. There's me, a little bit larger version of that there, with my Rugby World Cup jersey for the Springboks and my banner that I'm waving along with the Japanese headband. That's actually at Toyota City Stadium, which was located in Toyota City in Japan, where I went to watch the Springboks play the Velviches from Namibia, and I also went to watch Georgia play there, a couple other games, like Georgia Wales or something like that. But anyway, Shink Art does amazing characters. You might consider that if you want to do a character as a gift for a family member or friend. And you'll be in good company. They've also done Sia Khaleesi, the captain of the Springboks, and Joe Black, the musician, with his beard, not without the beard. So check out Shink Art at shink.co.za. And that's really cool stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Please check it out. Even if you don't order a character, they have a photography studio. When COVID-19 is eased, they do wedding photos and they do family portraits and things. Really cool stuff. But the characters are amazing. And the prices are quite good, actually. It's not going to set you back thousands of rand to do this. It's actually a small amount of money. So you might check it out. That's Shink Art based in Bloemfontein. And that is an unsolicited, unpaid for promotion for them, and it's my pleasure to do that for them. In addition to that, for those who watch the animation videos I've done on my prepared videos now, you'll see that I have an opening for Indaba Africa, and then I have a closing for it on most of my videos now. That's courtesy of Talon Bezuidenhout. I always pronounce his name wrong, Hout. But Talon is a graphic artist based in South Africa with a company called Impulse Graphics. If you need any graphics to meet all your graphics needs, check it out. And there you go. Right there is the contact information if you'd like to get something from Talon. And I'll be putting that banner up again in future. So this is just kind of the period where I'm showing you about some local production so you can support local folks in South Africa. And then finally here, there you go. I'm not going to cover myself up completely, but that is Giselle. Giselle is an amazing musician who is from Namibia but lives in Pretoria these days, and she is from Grootfontein in the northern part of Namibia, which used to be the major South African Defense Force military base in the northern third of the country to fight the conflict in the bush and also in Angola. But she's from there. She grew up there. She's childhood friends with Beate Prinsloo. And you're probably going, Beate Prinsloo? Who is Beate Prinsloo? Well, you may not know Beate Prinsloo, but she is a world-famous runway model for Victoria's Secret. Now, maybe I've got a few of the gentleman's attention. Victoria's Secret runway model. Indeed, she is. They're childhood friends, went to the same school together, have known each other their entire lives, and as I understand, they're still best friends. But Beate, you might know who her spouse is, a certain Adam Levine from Maroon 5. That's right. So now, because of my connection to Johan Eisel and Giselle, Johan is her manager, I'm just 3 degrees of separation from Adam Levine. Not going to get me in to see him for free. I won't see Maroon 5 for free. But anyway, the point is that So she grew up in Hoedfontein, and also lived in the Northern Cape for a bit. So if you watch her concert, a lot of people say she has a funny accent because it's a Namibia Afrikaans accent. People in the Western Cape and the Highveld picked up on it right away. But that concert's free. It's a past live stream on my channel. It's an hour and 3 minutes, and you should check her out. She has a new album out now. I'm not sure how you get it, whether you get it from Take a Lot or Amazon, but I'll take a look into that. But the album is called Für uns Mensa, and when I started the stream earlier, the one that got broken off, played a beautiful song that she performed. She has a lot of really good music. But anyway, check out Giselle. She's absolutely amazing. You'll love her music if you listen to Afrikaans music. And if you like country music, she has a country album in English, so check that out as well. I'm not a country music fan, but I do enjoy her country music, even though I'm not a fan of it. So, Pete Buttons, well, welcome. Good to see you there. The new Sharks Black Panther jersey is nice. Is that based on the Marvel concept, Vernon? In 6 weeks, the ANC has destroyed South Africa. Well, yes, and in 6 weeks, they've accomplished what international sanctions couldn't accomplish in a decade. They brought South Africa to its knees. Well done, African National Congress. You have accomplished what the world couldn't do in a decade. You've done it in 6 weeks. The NC's been busy for 26 years. Yeah, that's just, but they've really put it in overdrive in the last 2 months. That's the key. Do you guys remember those posters you used to get at Spur with the Springbok running through all those cities, but the Giants was really, that was a long time ago. Why Stormers shirt? Why Stormers shirts? Because I'm a Stormers fan. I'm a huge Stormers fan. I've been a Stormers and Western Province fan for years. Who's won the most Curry Cups? Western Province. Now, we haven't won the most Super Rugby trophies, but I chalk that up to Alistair Coetzee's leadership and his lack of the heart of a lion when it comes to pouncing on your foe and pressing them down and winning. Had some good records under Alistair Coetzee and won a couple Curry Cups, but should have won 5 Curry Cups, or at least 4, and won at least 2 or 3 Super Rugby championships. Then he would have been cemented as a great coach rather than just a nice guy. And of course, the debacle with the Springboks kind of left a different impression of Alistair Coetzee. But now I'm a Stormers fan, hence the reason for this. Sadly, though, I've never been to Newlands. I've never gone to a game in Newlands. Although I've been to Loftus, I've been to Kings Point, I've been to other stadiums, been to Ellis Park. I've never been to Newlands for a game. Every time I've been there, it wasn't when rugby was going on, so I've just missed it. I always wanted to go for the Cape Town Sevens, but now that they're moving, I guess, to the soccer stadium, I'll probably eventually get there. Sharks have the sexiest players. Well, that's a personal choice. I'm not going to get into that. Eureka, there is a new group on Facebook called We. Have you seen it? No. What's We? What's We? Reschedueld wants me to wear the Bulls. Come on, Reschedueld. I wore Bulls jerseys twice in a row last week because I had Willem Petzer on. He lives in the area around Pretoria, so I wore a Bulls jersey. And then the next day I had Herman Roos on. And Herman also lives in the vicinity, so I wore a Bulls jersey too. So back to the Stormers. But for those who watch my channel and watch my streams and my videos, you'll know that I wear all kinds of rugby jerseys. In the past week, I've worn Wales, Canada, USA, Ireland, the Bulls, the Springboks, and now the Stormers. And I have many more. Somebody asked me how many jerseys. I have probably 75 rugby jerseys in total. Most of them are Springbok or US numerically, but not as a percentage, and then from all over the world. I typically buy them when I have a good deal or a good price on them. So I should be U.S. ambassador to South Africa, I presume. That would be cool. So cool. But I have to get involved in the Trump campaign. That would be the way to do it. Mafia girl. All right. Okay. Let's see. Little Giants in the parting water running through the city. Yeah, that was, you're talking about the Spurs commercial. Yeah, so anyway, so later this evening, Renaldo Gouws will be on my program, and we'll be an interview. I'll be talking to Renaldo. We'll find a little bit about what makes Renaldo tick. He should be at ease since he doesn't have to run the stream. He can just sit there and answer questions. And you're welcome to pop in and tune in for that stream at 9 p.m. South Africa time, and I'll do my best to catch questions. For those who follow my streams, you know that I keep a whiteboard here. And I'll write down questions as I see them come across, because usually he'll be responding or I'll be saying something. So I'll write it down and I'll try to get some of the questions. But if we have a lot of people tune in and we don't get to all your questions, I'll just apologize in advance for those who tune in. But anyway, so it would be really cool if you guys can make it back. Renaldo's a very interesting guy. I say this because I just saw a comment over there. I make sure that you don't think I'm a fanboy, but Renaldo's channel has done really well, and I think it's in part because Renaldo. His stream is a lot of things. He's on there as an entertainer. He's on there as a classic YouTuber. He's on there talking politics. He's also, I mean, I've seen him, I don't tune in, but I saw him tune in one time. He's doing gaming. He's playing like Call of Duty or something like that. But so I think his channel's something for everybody, and his viewership has grown immensely, and his subscriber base has grown even more. So yeah, we're gonna have him on, find a little bit about what makes him tick. He's a YouTuber, he's a disc jockey, and he's a ward counselor for the Democratic Alliance in Nelson Mandela Bay. So we're going to talk about all those things and just get a little bit more insight into who Renaldo Gouws is. And some of you may know some of this because you've been longtime viewers of his stream and his videos. That's cool. But we're going to talk a little bit about it, and that should be interesting. So I hope you can tune in for that. MacFire says, if Chris likes the Springboks, he likes all the provinces, cheese and fleet. Well, yeah, okay. So Mac, fair point. It just depends on who's playing. So when Willie LaRue was playing for the Cheetahs, I would root for the Cheetahs every time they played everybody except for Western Province. When Bismarck Duplessis was playing for the Sharks, I would root for the Sharks. Yanni and Bismarck were playing there, I would root for the Sharks, except when they played the Stormers. When Habana was playing for the Bulls, I would root for the Bulls, except when they're playing for the Stormers. It's kind of like that. So I can find myself rooting for all of them. And when the Griquas are playing anybody, just as when they're an underdog, I usually root for the Griquas, in Currie Cup. But I've even found myself rooting for the Lions, which was hard for me to do. It took a long time for me to get around to doing that because they sucked for so long. But then when they got some talent and they played better and they became the best team in South Africa for a while, I found myself rooting for the Lions. Now, I've never, in the interest of full disclosure for those down in Port Elizabeth and Nelson Mandela Bay, I've never, ever rooted for the Southern Kings. When they went to the Guinness Pro 14, they went from losing in South Africa to losing in Ireland and in Europe. But I do root for the Cheetahs in the Guinness Pro 14, and the Cheetahs are 2 or 3 top flight players away from actually being at the top of that conference. They're a middle-of-the-road team, maybe a little bit higher now and then, but they started off rough. But that's a tough thing to do. Travel all over Europe, play some games, travel way back to South Africa, host some games. It's really disruptive, and it's difficult. But it was kind of cool to see the Cheetahs and the Southern Kings wind up in Guinness Pro 14. I'm a fan of Guinness Pro 14, Leinster, Munster, all these different teams. Kind of cool to see the rugby there. I've actually been to Northern Ireland, to Belfast, and been to the place where Ulster plays. Really cool stuff. Yeah. Share William Petzer's video on Parler. Okay, and I dropped Parler because Parler was causing too many problems with my phone. It was supposed to be really cool, but it just crashed all the time. Maybe there's a better version out now. Not interested in the showman YouTubers, rather. Well, thank you, Reschedueld. Yeah, I'm not trying to be a showman, although I do crack a few jokes here. I'm really trying to talk about geopolitics and things that interest people. That's really what it's all about. Although people have questions about you personally, and some of the things I'm happy to talk about and experiences. And so that's not unusual. Thanks as always. Okay, no worries, Jesse. My pleasure. Let's see. Pete says, unfortunately, I do not do ball sports, but anything with an engine like F1 or MotoGP have peak. Yeah, here that's interesting because I never got the whole concept of auto sports. I was like, huh? Seems like a huge waste of gasoline, or petrol and time. But then last year, I'm an Xfinity customer, which belongs to Comcast, and that's my internet service provider as well as my cable company. Last year, because I've been such a loyal customer for such a long period of time for them, they offered free tickets to go to Delaware, to the not Wilmington, where's it? Delaware, anyway, Dover, the Dover Downs. So go to Dover for the racetrack, and so I had tickets to go to a NASCAR race in Dover, and I went, and I sat and picked a spot right past the starting line. And I watched when all the cars came out of the pits and they went and did their loop and they lined up and then they took off. And the sound, the rush, the vibrations, I got it. It was so cool. It was really cool. Talk about a testosterone-fueled moment. That was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And now I kind of get why people go to a race car. Of course, you need a good set of headphones. Otherwise, you're going to go deaf. But it was really, really cool. Amazing stuff. And talk about skill. I've never denied that when it comes to racing. There's a lot of skill in that. Having driven a personally owned conveyance at 230 kilometers per hour on Autobahn in Germany, I know that it takes a lot of skill to drive a car, and that's not even a high-performance car, so I can only imagine what a high-performance car is like. So I always had a lot of respect for that, but I never got it. Now I get it. So I'm not going to become a fanboy for NASCAR or Formula One, but I'm not going to diss them because I get the sport, I get the rush, and I understand why people do it. I still don't get the the what's the mixed martial arts, that sport. They do that in Vegas. I never got that one, but anyway, I do get that. Let's see. If you can chat with Dan Root, yeah, that would be a good idea. I think that would be a really good idea. You're talking about The Economist, right? Or Dan Root or Dawi Root? Which one are you talking about? Is Dan Dawi or is that someone else? Lizan says, no worries, even us in Nelson Mandela don't public explain. yeah, I know. Look at how many people show up at the stadium. Exactly right. Willy Oliver says, Parlor's updates are hit and miss. Sometimes it fixes bugs. Yeah, exactly. So I just got frustrated with it. You can't do that. You turn people off. Speedway is racing. It's awesome. Love the meltdowns. Would be a good interview, okay? Top fuelers. Stem cell. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've gone for nearly an hour and a half on the second stream here. There's a lot of folks in here. Let me give you a chance to get your last comments or questions in before I shut down. I'm going to need to get something to eat. I need to deal with this crazy hair here. And also need to prep and reboot so I can make sure that the red ants or the Chinese Communist Party are outside nowhere near my cable connection and fix this laptop. And then I'll have Renaldo Gouws on here later on. If, for some reason, in the midst of that stream, the red ants interfere and we get cut off, please don't run away. I guarantee you I will reboot and restore within a matter of minutes the Renaldo Gouws interview because I don't want folks to miss that. I'm really glad that people are patient and have tuned in for this, and I thank you for that. It's been a lot of fun. Ma Salama, gotta go across the LD. yeah. Well, I hope you can turn in later, Ranger buddy. Anyway, so okay, if people are gonna head off, I'm gonna head off too. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been an Indaba Africa production. This is Chris. If you enjoy the streams, feel free to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Share this with your friends, with your family, with your foes. If there's people you don't like or people you want to trigger, send them my link so they can check out my channel. And hopefully it will trigger them and maybe start some discourse. For those of you paying attention to the comments, there have been a lot more comments in my videos after the fact now, and I've been addressing some of those. A number of the comments disagree with what was said on the stream or with me, and that's fine, and I've addressed them. I haven't seen too many abusive ones. Thank you for that. If there are abusive ones, they probably just get ignored. But thank you for the feedback on that. Remember, folks, we don't all agree on everything, and that's fine. If we did, we'd just be a bunch of sycophants. We'd be a self-licking lollipop, and we'd really accomplish nothing. So it's okay to have differences of opinions and differences of views. Everyone has value to their views, and thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. It's been my pleasure. Thank you for the kind comments coming in now. We'll see you at Renaldo, 10 your time. Where are you at, Christo? If 10 o'clock your time. It's going to be 9 o'clock in South Africa, so you must not be in South Africa then. Okay, you don't have to disclose where you're at. But anyway, so yeah, thanks. And be sure to smash that like button, guys. I'm a little bit of e-begging right there. I appreciate the like if you enjoyed it or found it thought-provoking. And that's kind of about all I've got to say for now. Tune in later on, 9 o'clock in Johannesburg or Gaborone this evening, Friday, May 29th, for Renaldo Gouws here on my program for an interview. And then also you can catch that at the same time, but a different hour in Abuja, which will be 8 p.m. or London, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the U.S. And if you're all the way out in California or Vancouver and you want to tune in, that would be noon for you guys, 3 hours behind us. Oh, you're in Saudi. Okay, that got you, Christo. Yeah, Saudi. That makes sense. That's why you're an hour ahead. Well, thanks for coming in at 10 o'clock and staying up at that hour. Also, I know some folks want to have their kids tune in. I'll do my best to make sure that we don't have potty mouth, and we'll try to keep it clean and PG rated in case you have any kids who want to tune in for the stream. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you in a few hours from now with Renaldo Gouws. Have a pleasant evening. Thanks for tuning in. It's been my great pleasure to be here for this stream with you. Thanks for being part of it and for playing